everybody, and welcome back. We're getting ready to go into game number 4 and match point for Los Heretics. Wow, I just completely butchered that.
You're
sorry. I'm sorry, my Spanish friends. I wish I could speak as eloquently. No, honestly, this recovery from them after game 1 has been amazing because honestly, it's like they got it is like they got dazzled, like they got sucker punched, discombobulated, to quote Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And they just got thrown off in that first game. But game number 2 came in with a 23-minute win, very dominant. Game number 3, another very, very dominant game from them.
And it felt like, you know, first game, they even had some bright moments in some team fights there. And we're getting to the point where things are looking a little bit symbolic because the LFL had near enough 2-year reign over the ERL system, over EU Masters and then coming into EMEA Masters as well. They were the region which everyone feared that no one could break. Till Los Heretics came in. Last summer, they ended up winning that 5-game final series, incredible finals. And now they are on the brink of eliminating the LFL again, and it would be in the first round of knockouts. The LFL have only failed to progress from that round once. 2019 summer. Can it happen again?
A lot on the line. Not just for the regions, but also just the sake of pride, right? We know how active both the French and the Spanish fan bases are amongst themselves, and to have no French teams moving forward into semis, and for it to be Los Heretics again to be the executioner of the final team in this tournament would feel sore, to say the very least.
But we're in to pick some bans. We've already seen that Varus ban away. It is just not getting through today. We've seen Flakked actually has played it quite a lot, so pretty standard ban away from him. His only other champion that he had played more was Zeri. We have seen him actually on that today already. The Maokai now getting banned away by Team Geo. They really don't want to be dealing with this one.
Now, what Heretics ended up building in their last draft was saying, Vi, we're going to let it through, but we're going to have the Maokai ult firing at the same time Vi goes in to separate her from the team. And we'll outrange large enough for things to work out at that point. We can peel back. Without that Maokai, can Heretics do the same thing?
An excellent question to propose.
Elementary, Jamada.
Elementary, if I may. There's the Jace. Troubles.
Joyce.
Sorry, guys. My bad. Troubles' little hangman tab has been solved, I believe, once again. And there's the Vi. So
Blue side Vi ban, though.
Yeah, it does make me wonder. The Zai is still up and available, so I'm very curious to see where that one goes, or not Heretics actually red side ban it, allow the Rakan to remain up, make Team Geo actually think between picking the Zeri and the Jinx, and then actually just take the opposite side of that plus their favorable jungler, or just take the Rakan with the jungle if you don't care about the AD matchup. I think all are very viable paths, but Zaya's banned, Rakan's up, Jinx is up crucially, and Jezu wants that pick this time.
What is your AD carry answer to this now? Jinx has been creeping up in priority, well, it's more than creeping up, it has been shooting up in popularity. Number of people amongst the community saying that Jinx is first pick worthy, is the strongest champion on the patch, and honestly looking at what this champion can do in a good draft, find it hard to answer at that point. However, we could be taking a bit of a trip back to this time last year. Jinx Aphelios meta was rife last year in spring. It's going to be locked in. Flakked, of course, in that spring, won the LEC with G2. He was no stranger to this sort of matchup, to this sort of champion. Maybe this allows Marlon to get back onto his Thresh or something like that. That would be a very strong pairing to put with either the Jinx or the Aphelios. I was almost wondering if it was worth a takeaway from that point, but jungle pool, more priority.
Yeah, jungle pool, more priority. And we'll see whether or not the Rakan wants to actually picked up here at all. Tahm Kench, even blind, risky if Marlon is willing to go towards the Blitzcrank. So yeah, maybe they just kind of hold their, hold their horses on that one. Lyncas, Wukong up, do they want it? Hovering over the Syndra, they will lock it in. So I anticipate then, if not Wukong, maybe something like Lee Sin as well, just to kind of embolden the 2v2 in the mid jungle.
Now this is quite important because Syndra is a much more lane dominant champion and one that can play through lane harder than many other champions. Now we've seen Toucouille play through the Ahri and get out of lane. And yeah, Ahri gets early shove, can have solo kill threat for sure, not a weak laning champion, but Syndra indexes even more into that. If you get stuns, the scout of the week, you can play at long range. You have very long range artillery with that E firing through. It's going to be much more on Heretics finding an engage now with these champions locked in.
I'm wondering what this final pick's going to be. Are they going to look towards a mid lane counter?
Sure.
Or are they going to accept that and go for this Thresh? I was thinking maybe Thresh or Tahm Kench and make sure they set up Flakked as good as possible to carry. That looks like the game plan.
I like this because now you can go Blitzcrank ban into Tahm Kench ban and you feel pretty good. Unless you really want to trim at Ragner's champion pool so much, even though you're on red side. Those are the kind of options I feel like Heretics have. For Team Geo though, I feel like it's going to be a little bit difficult. You're maybe looking to remove away someone like Silas, because I think that's going to really embolden and enable the team fighting or the skirmishing in the early game. And then beyond that, it's really up to them what they want Zwyroo off of. How
do you feel about something like a Galio? Do you think
for
there's
Heretics?
not enough to go with it? Or do you feel like Heretics
for
can
Heretics?
give the Galio?
You know what I actually wanted to bring up before we went into the second ban phase? I decided not to, so thank you for also bringing it up.
No problem.
I think after seeing yesterday's series, Galio is pretty good. I think it's really strong specifically with Sejuani as well, just because the early, skirmishing power, it brings a lot of space to the table. I just feel like the lane itself might
it's
just
a hard
suck.
lane. Don't get me wrong.
The lane,
it's a hard old lane.
The lane is just such a hard sell that I don't know if it really can fit. But in the team composition as a whole, I feel like it would be okay.
I think you can lock it 4th, and then maybe you can look for a Camille. You need another way to get into the backline. I don't like Galio into just the Jinx and the Syndra. You don't often reach that target, and often you have a pretty crap laning phase before that point. You need another vector to get in towards that backline. Of course, maybe you pick something maybe more like a... I mean, the Victor's been banned away. There are Orianna was always pretty okay with that.
Really?
This has been a pretty okay kind of... It's a fairly flippy matchup, locking the Ahri into this one. But both of them are fairly strong long-range red laners.
It just feels so volatile though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Going towards the Ahri. I was hoping maybe for something a little more stable, but it's weird in even saying that, because Ahri is kind of just considered a stable pick sometimes. So I think here in this kind of
Syndra is one of the few things which makes you stop.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we'll see where they want to go with their top lane pick now. One being covered, lane matchup would suck, and there's no reason not to go Tahm Kench. Considering it didn't get banned away, they focused really heavily on wanting to remove away that Kennen, and I don't blame them. So where do they want their top lane pick to go? They could just go Olaf again here.
You need to pick something that's undiveable, I think, because the way that Heretics are looking at this right now, you have a great 5v5 front to back. It's very hard to reach your Jinx and your Syndra if everyone's in the same place. You've got to pick someone that can't get picked off on the side lanes, because if you cross-map versus the Sejuani, the Ahri, the Aphelios kind of diving you under those top lane or bot lane outer turrets, then you can start getting that game snowballed away from you. K'Sante is a fairly undivable option.
Yeah. So the response is what from Ibo? That's the real question. At the moment, thinking about something like an Olaf, but I talked about his Gnar at the beginning of the day. How do we feel about something like that? Obviously, you know, be a bit of a nuisance in the lane, but what it really does is set up for team fights and kind of enabling this team. I feel like that'd be a pretty good matchup, and that is what they're going to go for. They're going to pick up the Gnar for Ibo.
Yeah, I feel like it was the better of the two options. It's just one of those awkward things where I think generally Heretics are also kind of lacking, or rather, Team Geo are lacking a lot of like strong, consistent hard engage that can be followed up on a lot of the time. And I feel like if you're playing Gnar into that kind of composition, you feel alright, because then you always know that Team Geo are going to have to force themselves into you. So happy to take it, not just because of that, but the lane matchup I will say can be a bit volatile in mini Gnar. K'Sante can really, and I mean really hard abuse those windows. So I want to see Team Geo, honestly, do it. I want to see them go up there, because I feel like when you've got Jinx and Tahm Kench on the bottom side, they'll be fine. They shouldn't really get dove on a very consistent basis if they're playing the lane out to survive, right? So I think it'll be difficult, but I would love to see K'Sante get ahead in this game, because he should be able to really dominate those mid-game team fights for them.
Against anyone not named Marlon, I feel a lot more confident about
I know.
But given the game he's had and the series he's had, Marlon, he's got to be sitting there with a glint in his eye, looking and eyeing up a chance to bring this organization to a second LFL dynasty-killing tournament. They did it last summer. We keep bringing it up because, again, it feels symbolic. It feels important. I'm sure the fan bases are feeling a bit of sweat on the brows on both sides. But coming into this game, it feels like now in this draft, going to echo what Jamada said, you're going to have some strong individual performances. You want some of these K'Santes to get ahead and start to paper over the cracks where you don't have the strongest engage.
I mean, you mentioned as well earlier, it's been such a long time since we've seen a LFL team go at this stage in the tournament. The entire region, right?
Yeah.
But like, how bad would it be for Los Heretics as well, as the defending champions, to get knocked out at this stage in the tournament? It would be heartbreaking for them, as they have honestly looked incredible. They're like a totally different team from game 2 and 3. They've just the steps forward they made from that first game have been amazing. But we are on to the Rift for game number 4. Los Heretics are 1 game away from taking themselves into the semi-finals and a step closer to retaining their title here at the EMEA Masters.
Winner of this goes on to face the Unicorns Love Sexy Edition, who are another team that have had a hell of a long history in the RLs of excellence within their region, within the Prime League and the LCL. Before that, they find themselves in a rare semi-finals appearance for themselves. The Prime League would also be eyeing up the winner of this series. Got a long way to go up to the top of that table.
Yeah, this side of the bracket is just so stacked. I mean, EMEA generally is, like, once you hit the top 8, right? But this side in particular, you know, France won, Germany won. Of course here, Spain and Geo as kind of the other favorites to the tournament. So, like you say, they will be waiting. The Unicorns is not too much going on, not a lot of information necessarily aggressively placed until very late into this level 1. Zwyroo gets a ward on the Raptors, and they should know where bluerzor is also starting as well.
Now, I think we're going to have a number of eyes onto, well, actually, I mean, all of the laning matchups have a fair amount of flip to them. We talked about, you highlighted the Santa matchup into the mini Gnar, particularly bot lane feels like Tahm Kench, you make an overstep into a hook, particularly with Aphelios kind of spinning through Onslaught on that Severum can get a bit spicy. In this mid lane as well, with Syndra's changes, early on has less kill pressure in lane, but as you see, that Q range gives you more than enough ability to potentially threaten. So Toucouille with some individual ability to potentially manhandle this lane.
Well, for now, obviously just going to be a pretty standard start. As like you were saying, the Syndra will just be very much a pretty dominant pick in this lane. And we'll look to try and set up, move out, because honestly, to Toucouille, they have been very, very proactive on the map across this entire series. They've been a real thorn in the side. We expected today to be very top lane focused, and Ivo has had, unfortunately, a lot of love shown to him.
Seen a couple of QE combos rather from Toucouille landing. Of course, remember, each time those happen, you get a splinter on Syndra's passive. You get it from leveling up, from killing cannon minions, and of course hitting 2 skills in quick succession onto enemy champions. If Syndra gets ahead of this game, very snowbally pick, finally misses one. Zwyroo, though, will want to really make sure that they can start threatening Toucouille on this Syndra alongside bluerzor on the Sejuani. Early pressure extraordinaire before that Syndra gets online.
Yeah, one thing I want to note is that bluerzor went Raptors. So went Raptors, down to blue, down to Grom, and then came all the way back over here to get information on what was actually going on. I didn't really find too much, and the reason why I bring that up is he didn't actually have a water drop, and now it's given Kamilius this opportunity to roam up here.
Bit of a hard dive.
Find something, but it is a hard sell on the dive.
I actually think
really
that might have been reactive to seeing potentially where they were thinking bluerzor was, as we said. I think Heretics through this mid jungle would like to get something onto Toucouille, blow that flash. Syndra not exactly a very safe champion without it. So just hanging up that, making sure that there was potential turnaround. Should bluerzor turn up in that mid lane?
Well, bluerzor just keeping pressure up towards his top side. We expect to see a lot of attention up here. And Ivo actually about to Gnar out, so he will go melee, which means
they haven't seen bluerzor.
They haven't seen him. Dodge out on the Q, and this is going to be the flash, but an instant answer out. They will be able to lock him down. Slow with the boulder toss. Ragner, one more auto away from being permafrosted out. As bluerzor, he couldn't close the gap there, and now Ragner's actually able to turn it around with the back of Lyncas, and Toucouille's coming in. First blood to Lyncas. I don't know what happened there. That just felt like they just couldn't catch.
Now, I don't know if I'm overthinking this, but I think bluerzor cancelled his final auto attack because I heard the animation for the flail start to swing. So,
well, this
we'll
is the
chase
thing,
that.
right?
Yeah,
this is W2. Doesn't get the slow.
W doesn't get the slow, so it doesn't confirm. But then I think he starts the animation. Like right there, that slight stutter stops him from getting the auto attack. So because of that, Ragner can't get locked down a little bit sooner. Lyncas is able to close the gap, and they get first blood.
Big thing about this too, talked about that early lane from Syndra actually pressing the Ahri, means that the Ahri can't turn up into that side of the map, even though it's on their side of the jungle. Zwyroo's now back out there too, but Toucouille being a factor in that play, and first blood in this potential killer game for Geo, starting off well for them.
Oh, Ivo as well. Getting chunked out. He might actually be under some danger. I doubt it actually.
Without the path maker, it's a bit difficult to make that dive work. Also, I just kind of want to note, opting to go towards Chain Vest, so just doesn't want to take more damage on the trades as opposed to doing a little bit more inside of them. Makes a fair amount of sense just because, you know, ranged versus melee, you're going to be eating more damage on the way out than you actually do on the way in. Just not really wanting to take that return damage. Xante's base numbers, despite taking a fair few hits over the course of this year, still quite obnoxious into a mini Gnar who doesn't really have many base stats to stand.
Focus on the top side means that there's less emphasis on this bot side. CS advantage starting to build up for Flakked, and it also means that push on bot side has been secured. Lyncas now trying to answer.
Yeah, they are looking for something here. Flakked has the Graviton, so he's going to be able to do a fair amount here. They get a bunch of damage up onto Kamilius as Lyncas keeping some damage up onto bluerzor.
Yeah.
Flashes forward actually to keep onto him. He may just have the kill. bluerzor gets the lockdown with the Permafrost. Blast cones over the wall to safety, and somehow he limps out of that one.
Yeah, Lyncas, I think, just took half a backstep, not really expecting bluerzor to kind of commit the way that he does, and Doesn't quite have enough rundown, but forcing bluerzor out in this kind of manner means that this dragon is a bit of a freebie despite the trade going a little bit wayward for Team Geo on the bottom side. They secure that one. Mid lane, Charm just about goes wide. Toucouille just gonna walk off that damage.
Yeah, it's the spellbook Ahri. You switch over to the Ignite, look for an opportunistic first kill of the game, particularly with bluerzor getting hemmed back in the jungle matchup though. Has to try and do his own stunts. Partly the reason for that though is Lyncas having a solid early game yet again. Team Geo has felt like they've had a good read on what Heretics want to achieve in the first few levels of the game. And Lyncas, now a champion coming in from NLC of last summer, couldn't repeat that in the LFL, but got close. Was only beaten by his ex-teammate of Backland in the mid lane. Over on LDLC that denied him that one, but he has really been a force of nature within the jungle talent pool of the ERLs.
For many years. And the kid's very young too. I don't even think he's 20 yet. And it's weird to think about that, just because of how long, at the very least I know, all of us actually have been watching over Lyncas from different regions over the years. But here in the quarterfinals of Team Geo, like you said, very, very close domestically to almost making it over the finish line with the gold medal around his neck. But so far, 1-0 in this game. Done a really good job of just trying to find the pressure where it matters, forcing out bluerzor, getting the first blood when bluerzor was looking for the top side play. Gets the dragon, and hovering around the top side, already hitting level 6. I anticipate that he'll be looking to prioritize the Rift Herald as well.
Well, just seeing where the attention actually will go, like you said, towards that Rift Herald. Zwyroo actually gets a whole chunk of damage down, throws the Ignite out, doesn't have that ultimate, so can't really commit for anything else there. And I believe the Scuttle was picked up by the side of Team Go, so they should have pretty much constant vision there, at least for a bit longer. There is that one ward placed down by Heretics, but this time, Flakked is actually roaming earlier, so he will be in the area for this fight.
It also helps you do that as well as Thresh Lantern can help you roam to waves a little bit easier. It's kind of helps you rotate a little bit quicker. That Spellbook Ignite means that Toucouille is not in position to answer for this Herald fight. So Heretics behind in gold after the first skirmish of the game. And the first couple really, but they get themselves this Herald for a power play. Most of these Heralds have not been that clean from either team, so Heretics making a big power play with this could be a turning point, which we've not seen the likes of in this series.
Oh, they're going to flash forward. They're actually going to throw the ultimate out there. There's a Lantern, and Ibo's out. He does almost have that Narbar built up as well. Jumps in with the clone, with the charm onto one. Marlon's able to get the kill onto the monkey, as in comes the rocket from downtown, but a double kill for Flakked means that Heretics, with the Herald in hand, are going to be super happy with that one.
Yeah, Team Geo just looking for a bit of a counterplay whilst they know they're losing the Herald, and unfortunately, because of that, they kind of overextend looking for the Gnar, not really anticipating that Heretics will follow up with the Lantern.
And again, it's multiple kills around a Herald given up for quite flimsy reasons. Team Geo feeling themselves way too much, and Marlon, MVP performance across this series so far, picked up the Thresh again. That Lantern is crucial. No easy kills, no easy way out of that fight. Resets coming through from that Ahri. Flakked picking up gold. Heretics, if they want to have themselves a good start to this potential deciding game, that's the way you do it.
I did not see the Flakked and red and white guns as well there, so that was just like,
painful.
that was absolutely guaranteed that fight was going to go bad for them. But you're completely right. I think Marlon genuinely has been the MVP this series. He's just been so on point. He hasn't had a moment where he's looked bad.
No, a really, really strong series from Marlon. We'll see if he can keep that level of play up for the remainder of the night, whether it be this game, whether or not Team Geo are able to turn around the pressure a little bit and turn this into a 5-game series. For now though, everything will be settled. The Herald was picked up by Heretics like we mentioned, and you just kind of anticipate that that gold is being thrown directly into Flakked's back pocket. Ragner should be okay, because Ivo doesn't really have too many more spells left to throw out. And again, Gnar ultimate, it's a pretty low cooldown now, so you kind of just toss it out every
I kind of love
time.
it that it's kind of like a poke ultimate ever since they made those changes.
It's much better. I like it. It's fun.
It makes him a champion.
It makes him very brawly earlier, which is nice, I think is the main thing. Flakked coming in after that base, got himself the attack speed boots and the pickaxe in his inventory. Almost got that coal fully stacked as well. So he is in a pretty solid position.
Yeah, and particularly in this game, when you don't have a Vi, you don't have something which is going to be coming in from crazy initiation angles, having extra movement speed on Flakked with that Ghost running tier 2 boots makes it very hard to shut down this Aphelios. He's now going to start zoning him off the turret. Lyncas is here to try and at least buy his bot lane a path back to these minions under turret, but the color's just about to get popped. Lane advantage really has been secured for Flakked alongside those extra kill gold.
Yeah, and Heretics constantly having first move down from mid lane too. So that pressure of fog, always very much ever present. And again, you know, you kind of just see on the map, as soon as he's got priority, Zwyroo straight down to the bottom side. He's got his jungler in his back pocket. They've actually got that blast cone too.
Oh, they know Lyncas is there as well.
Yeah, they're very aware. But they also know that Toucouille, I mean, he could teleport to the tower, but it's still a 4-second channel time, so they'll always have that numbers advantage for a brief second. They want it.
Oh, they get the charm onto the clone, unfortunately.
Okay. Still not bad, right? You get Kamilius' flash on the way out, and you can still return to Dragon if you really want to, even without Spirit Rush available.
Yeah, well, Zwyroo also as well, just looking at the items too, that's a lot of ability haste built up with those first two. One of the things with this kind of build, and you kind of prioritizing ability haste, is that you do want to be using this extra amount of cooldown you've got on cooldown as much as possible. Blowing flashes means that maybe Marlon has an easier chance in these fights. Now, you don't have the Spirit Rush for this one, you do have a bit of vision, you do have positioning on the Dragon.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get a hook up there from Marlon into the lockdown, but Kamilius with a good gobble, keeping his jungler alive. Jezu's coming in on the flank, gets a bit of damage off onto Flakked, puts down the traps as Lyncas is trying to get some damage off. bluerzor's very low HP. Jezu not getting the reset off. Marlon has to go into the stopwatch to try and stay alive. Dragon has been secured here for Team Geo, but Marlon is going to go down as Zwyroo has got that blast cone to get over and away to safety, but Flakked has no flash, has nowhere to go. He throws down a huge Moonlight Vigil. Red Guns keeping him topped up and alive. Toucouille comes in, and that's going to be the flash forward. Jezu finds the shutdown into his pocket. They teleport Ibo in, but it's way too late.
Yeah, it's a really nice fight though for Team Geo. And on top of it all, they get the Dragon. So that's a really solid sequence if you're rooting for the French. And Jezu getting that shutdown is huge.
Hold on. Traps. They're bringing Marlon in as well.
Oh, I love that from us. That was like
almost
synchronized.
had the barbershop quartet.
The tone-deaf barbershop.
Oh no.
No way.
No.
Oh, he hooks something.
Yeah, you know.
Still keeping that hook
He
rate
never
up.
misses. Look, what can I say?
Never misses.
He's him.
I've never seen it. Show me a clip. You can't.
You know the observers are now gonna go.
No.
Oh god, actually no, it's not the LPL. They would. If the LPL observers could hear the English side, they would make fun of us at every single opportunity. No, neither would I. Ragner's gonna get this play up here. Whilst all of the shenanigans were going on, still managed to return back up there and find some gold. Herald actually does get his charge in the extended push here, and Flakked will return to receiving a bunch more.
Plates.
Yeah, he's gonna get the whole tower right before it drops off.
With plates and all.
Yeah, with the plates. So much extra gold, 625. He's up 1.7k individually.
That's, by the way, including a 2-kill Jinx with shutdown gold.
Yeah.
He got shutdown on Flakked, and he's still up that much gold. That is bonkers for Flakked.
And of course, Flakked has been incredibly defining in this series, really setting himself up again as one of, if not the best AD carries in the whole of the ERL system. Gotta say that the rest of his team's done a great job to give him the ability to appear that way, but his own individual talent has really led to him standing out, particularly in this series.
It was like we were saying backstage, you know, as much as Marlon, in our opinion, is MVP, he's been playing super well, it's still a skill to be played around. Like, you can't just play around somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. He just, Flakked enables himself so perfectly, and his team is so good at setting up for him in that sense. He's just been having an absolutely killer series. Where there were concerns from some of his mistakes, from some of his rotations being less than optimal.
Speaking of that, Flakked, he's got himself a bit of an inopportune combo right now. Probably has himself one last Sentinel turret to put down. That would be a 3-weapon switch, allows him to kind of put an extra thing down. Then it'll be onto his utility. Yeah, and then he'll have himself onto his utility combo if he so wishes. It actually looks like he's maybe going towards the Sentinel turret.
So I think he actually had blue plus white before this, and then went on to Gravitum.
Right.
So he's trying to empty out the Gravitum now to get. I think it's green now.
Yeah, because the weapon combos you want as Aphelios, the 3 big ones you want are red, white, green, white, and then also utility weapons. And then anything you can do to kind of like quickly switch between them means you're always useful. So Flakked right there, trying to make sure that he had himself some strong ones there. Ibo,
he's in danger. No, he's not.
It's fine.
Missed the wallop.
He's playing with fire though. I will say that. Speaking of playing with fire, Ragnar, I don't think he's got the gap closed. He is still going to force the ultimate out of Zwyroo. Really nice path maker. To ensure he doesn't get charmed up though. Oh, hello. Hello. Toucouille's in danger. Ivo misses the Q, and Marlon
Missed a hook.
But still, mission accomplished in terms of getting the flash out of Toucouille.
Yeah.
If we're going into these side lanes, I mean, look at what just happened with both mid laners. Zwyroo loses an ult, with the other one loses a flash. One of them is a much longer cooldown than the other. Of course, we already pointed out, cooldown reduction built up by Zwyroo. Gonna have more of those ults, has more liberty to burn that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually what I was about to notice.
Sorry, did I steal that from you?
He
No,
stole
no,
it.
you didn't steal
No,
my thunder,
listen,
don't worry.
listen.
You're the Ahri man. You're allowed to make
So,
any Ahri point you like.
Nightmare, by casting with this guy here,
Yeah.
you're a little bit younger on the experience. Anytime you get to make
Yeah.
fun of him, it's a win. It's a, you know, look.
This is my role in life, apparently.
Someone has to take, you know, we spoke about Orcs last game. I'll speak about him again. Someone has to take that man alive. Someone always has to be there to make sure that Jake, you know, never gets off the ground. In the,
I can see the articles already. Local league caster condones bullying.
It's Aragon's turn now.
Yeah. Oh,
We'll
yeah,
have to train him.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Oh god, why did I just enable
Yeah,
that?
yeah, we do. That's a great
Oh,
point.
God.
Aragon, because we know you're listening backstage. We're gonna, you know, you're very humble, lad. We're gonna change that.
We're gonna change that.
We're gonna change
We're
that.
gonna make you into a real meanie.
Speaking of change,
Yeah.
Heretics need to actually come up positive on a fight while securing an objective. That matters.
They have been really good at playing around this bot side bush though before Dragons. They've done this consistently. They've used this to gain access into this river and just hold Geo back before they could get into that river. They are still up a slight amount of gold, particularly on the AD carry. Of course, AD carries being up gold means an awful lot. See how they can play around it in this fight.
Well, holding the charm actually there from Zwyroo. He didn't throw it down, just tried to get a bit of damage onto Lyncas, but unable to do too much. Control over this river is the main game here. That revolves around them also having control of mid. Hook comes in from Marlon, gets himself off back. Look at the scatter, look at the damage. Down goes
Oh my
Marlon.
God.
He just brings bluerzor all the way back to the base. Bluerzor's low. Charm goes down, pulls him back in, and the rocket's huge. But Ivo coming in big. Flavor from Flakked is not able to do enough damage, and Heretics are low. They have nobody and nothing to do. Zwyroo has to run away. 2 carries alive. The rest of the team are dead.
The last hope of the LFL still got some fire left in their bellies. Hello, we're on screen, but they managed to find themselves a really decent fight at that point, particularly considering where bluerzor was on that flank. We've seen quite a lot now, Heretics, play around that entrance into the river bush. bluerzor at that point, though, doesn't take into account the Cassandra, who just takes them on a trip back home.
Yeah, I believe the phrase is, I will not yield, or something. I don't know.
I remember the Aurelio ones, because she shouts them really loudly.
Yeah, the Aurelio ones are really quite... Yeah, you're right. They are quite loud.
They are.
Asante,
She's a loud champion.
Yeah, she's a loud champion. I'm just thinking about the 7TV emotes, where like it's I will not yield. I think it's like W into the wall, and then you just see Cassante drag someone about 7 miles across the continent.
But you got to train yourself in like a different set of muscle memory for that, where like at the end of the day, if you've played against a champion since like season 3, you kind of know what they're about. When we go into this replay though, when you're playing against a new champion with new mechanics like this, you gotta be aware of it. And this Cassandra, you called for it to get some individual advantage and make the most of it. Well, look at that.
Yeah, really, really solid. And also what I want to pull up on this fight, I'd love to actually telestrate it, to be honest with you, but you can actually see Flakked tries to move in and capitalize on this Gnar on him, but he can't because Toucouille and Jezu are kind of just covering that entrance into the river, and because of that, no follow-up damage can come through. And you have to imagine, honestly, even at this point in the game, if he's able to get all attacks in on that kind of clump, he could have maybe taken over that team fight. But fortunately, positioning was pretty solid from Jezu and Toucouille, being behind the rest of their carries. And it just means that very, very thankfully, if you're a French supporter, they are able to win out that team fight.
It's needed. That's the big thing. Is honestly, it's kind of felt like game 2 and 3, Team Geo just rolled over and just accepted their demise in those games. It felt like they weren't not trying, but it didn't feel like they were giving it quite what we saw in game 1, quite what we're seeing through the group stage from them. And Los Heretics just took every advantage and pushed it. So it's nice to see some life getting breathed into Team Go in this game 4.
The last bit is what I'd really like to focus on there, because it felt like when Heretics have had a lead in this series, they have been very good at seeing it out. They've been very good at creatively finding their way onto people out of position on side lanes, finding people before the 5v5 can really come into fruition, using their range advantage around objectives. Even right there, actually, I don't think that objective setup was particularly poor. I think they executed a little bit poorly around the Syndra stun, catching people out, and Marlon on the Thresh, not being able to walk up with so much impunity without getting one shot and getting reset on. But you're absolutely right. This was much needed from Team Geo because, you know, if they don't manage to succeed here, they're out.
Well, we're back into games. Team Go, they're going to get themselves their third dragon. They are one off Soul Point. Ragner's going to get a tower as well. This is just all-around victories for them. I mean, the gold lead, it's small at the moment, but it feels like it's on the verge of just slingshotting forwards. And I feel like one of the saving graces, the reason the gold lead's not that bad is because Flakked had such a lead prior to that fight.
Yeah, you're right, but I feel like this is one of those games where, like you say, it's still very much like there's a stick of dynamite. Bear with me, boys. And it feels like the match is about to really hit the detonator. Because all it feels like Geo need is one more team fight with the pressure that they have right now. And it's not going to feel necessarily insurmountable, but for Heretics, it's going to be a steep as hell mountain to climb back up.
You know, there's a great myth which is really similar to this, which I think is fairly grandiose, considering we're dealing with the reigning champions and the champion region for so long. The Sword of Damocles. King sits on his throne with a sword attached with a thread above his head, and it's going to drop at any moment.
That is a reference.
That is a reference.
I use it a lot.
How do you
really
just
cool.
have, like...
I really like Greek mythology.
It's him and his brother both. It's like they're just massive mind palaces of some of the most well, not even obscure. It's just
a good percentage of that is built with Ahri builds, by the way.
Okay. You know what?
I thought that's your Ahri build.
Nothing's really going on at the moment. This rotation from Heretics could at best be threatening. Thoughts on the Ahri builds and the runes and everything that's been going on, Mr. Ahri Specialist? I'll give you the floor.
First thing is particularly, you see, what happens is, if you fight around early fights and you have something, as you saw Syndra in there, if Syndra has a Dark Seal, you have one more good fight, you're at a point where you have a lot of extra free stats. And I think what you can do to help yourself is sit on a stopwatch. If you feel you're going to only use it in one key team fight, you don't have to complete the Zhonya's second, you can go towards a bit more damage. That can help a little bit more. You can definitely understand in this game why Zwyroo feels like he wants to go a little bit more setup. You don't exactly have the most consistent engage from top lane and bot lane. Yeah, FLICKR can help with something like that Gravitum. Going towards something like that Everfrost, particularly because your engage is not with something like an Ahri, a Vi, or a Nautilus, can help a little bit more, particularly when the game is just getting to that Syndra and the Jinx.
And while we're on the subject of items as well, Flakked has got himself a lot of damage put into him. That's what he had. But he has the Kraken Slayer and the Infinity Edge versus Jezu, who's got the Kraken Slayer and that Phantom Dancer we've seen from actually Flakked all day. Flakked's basically out of this fight. He needs to land a big Moonlight Vigil to heal up enough to actually come back into this. I assume third item will be Bloodthirster for him.
It probably has to be. Looking at now, also, because we were talking a little bit about builds, also runes as well, you'll notice that we have a... this is a drag this over here. We have a Smite from the spellbook. Now, when you have Early Soul being threatened up here on Team Geo, that can be very, very impactful. We have seen plenty of games where we've had 3 or 4 Smites. If both mid laners take themselves to summon a spellbook, that can determine flips and a lot of these steals. Of course, Ahri always going to have access into the pit. Can also use himself that stopwatch to buy himself a little bit more safety as well. Be another 2 minutes before that could potentially come to use around that, unless the Baron gets started beforehand.
Yeah, I like that you call out the difference in itemization between Jezu and Flakked though, Jake, because what it really means to me is that Flakked, in those big moments where he throws out Moonlight Vigil, if it hits multiple members, and it's Calibramon or it's an Infernum, God forbid, for the side of Team Geo, and it's a big clump, he's gonna one-shot them if it's a crit. But for Jezu, it's more about, getting the ramping DPS in, and then actually, trying to get excited and utilize the passive more before the Infinity Edge comes in. And that's when things will get even scarier for the the of Heretics dealing with the Jinx.
They've got double smite.
I mean, the problem is they can't really get...
Flakked
can put the turret in. Yes, yeah. It's sneaky, but Kamilius will see it.
Kamilius has seen it. That's a lot of
How
damage,
fast is it going to die, though? It's gone. It's Heretics, but they have to get out.
He's miles away. There it is. Baron secured.
Oh my god.
Absolutely insanely good play. Ragner, the gobble's used on him and not Jezu. And immediately Kamilius is put the hook! The hook! Marlon setting his team up for success. Ragner getting slowed down. They're going to try and keep the pressure up. Boulder toss after boulder toss is landing into Ragner as he is just limping out of this one. Lost Heretics. What a play!
Heretics just completed the heist of all heists. They have been down for the entire game. They've not secured a single dragon. And frankly, Team Geo have just felt in control. But to have the presence of mind to just go, you know what, these guys are on reset and we've got the perfect setup with the guns from Aphelios, the hook and the lantern in, we can burst this one down.
And the double smite. It wasn't saved for that soul. They won't have the spellbook smite for that attempt, but they get that Baron just before they can get towards the reset and the setup for this next dragon. Very interested to see what happens coming up to it. Should be spawning as we come out of replay. That could be a game-determining fight. With Jezu blowing summoners, can be very important. Heretics looking for a pick again.
Crucially, Flakked still has his flash as well, and stopwatch. Him and Zwyroo have summoner spells, have stopwatches. It's just not impossible right now for Team Go. I think they're okay just to give this one up. The gold lead is not that bad. They can sit back, give this first dragon over to Heretics, and then wait for the Baron out, basically.
Yeah, another thing as well, I think Heretics really just decided now is the time. They have second items on everyone, so it means that they're not fighting 2 to, or rather 2.5 to 3 items. They do it when their items are completed. Also, something like that Shadow Flame onto Ahri as well. Kind of wish you'd gone for the Death Cap if you get the 3rd and 4th items, but right now, sitting in that period of power, and they get to push in across the board. As we see so often, though, on the other side, when you're against a Baron, a lot of the time you don't group up and defend. You'd rather cross-map for something on the other side, and that's exactly what Ragner is doing to that top lane in turn.
Trying to find something, but will only get a massive chunk out of that tower. On the bottom side, though, the siege continues. Heretics, oh my goodness me, that's one water attack with the whip. Oh my god!
Moonlight Vigil does go a little bit wide.
Only reason why they aren't dead is because Lyncas' clone stopped the Moonlight Vigil. It meant Flakked had to hold on to it for longer. They'll still get the tower, but you can see how online Flakked is now with that IE and, of course, the Last Whisper in pocket.
And now this Baron power play, you're going to see so much gold going over to the other side. Toucouille getting a big burst out onto Flakked. Doesn't have a huge amount of lifesteal. Does have a stopwatch should that unleashed power come through. That's one of the few counterplay opportunities you do have against that stopwatch onto Zwyroo as well, who also has the exhaust. How important could that be in the next fight? Heretics, they finally see some of those gold difference numbers turning their color on the bot side of the screen. Heretics looking to complete this Baron power play.
Well, they're going to try and charge in forwards here, get the lockdown. They're bringing Ibo with them. He's out, he's down. Lyncas able to secure the kill. Flakked does get knocked back, but they've already used too much onto him, and he should be A-okay, although he does get pulled back and now lanterned away to safety. Whole bunch of damage coming in, and in comes Jezu. Can he ramp up the damage is the real question. The box goes down to buy some space for them to escape. Flakked, relatively chunky, but with the red guns, is able to heal back up, and it feels like this is just edging on a potential fight here. They're going to come in with Toucouille on that flank.
They haven't pinged it.
He's bringing the orbs up. They don't know where he is. Kamilius comes over the wall. Flakked gets lanterned.
Oh!
Scatter! That was game winning for Team Go! Huge pick, huge teleport, and this game has been blown open once again!
Team Geo, the last hope of the LFL, not satisfied with 4 games. They would love to push this to the silver scrapes. And Toucouille, who else could it be but him? Mr. Veteran on the side of Team Geo with an absolutely insane scout of the week.
Massive, absolutely massive, and that's the lifeline that it felt like Geo needed just to kind of clench, wrestle control back, because Heretics, it felt like the pace, the tempo was really starting to mount just a bit with the Baron. Of course, the base wasn't broken open, so realistically for Heretics would have been another map reset, but for Toucouille to take this teleport flank and find that many members means that now Geo should be able to regain control on the map and actually look for the soul.
And the reason that's possible, Ragner hit 2 crucial Q3s in a row.
Oh man.
And they just don't see it coming. Absolutely blindsided, absolutely blown off the map, taken apart.
Just unbelievably well played. One thing I really want to give out to Team Go, they have been so on point with their flank TPs all series. That is their one thing. As much as they said they rolled over in game 2 and 3, which I will admit they did, they still had some insane flanks coming out for them. Really, really clean killer stuff coming out from these guys. And now, 3rd item has been picked up for Flakked.
Do you feel like reading as well? 3rd item for Toucouille. Got ourselves a Magi's after that play. He's on the snowball, has the extra move speed from that as well, since it's at those 10 stacks. Important to note, if someone's going to try and catch out Toucouille with a skill shot, try and run him down, that extra move speed can be a big factor.
Could genuinely be a bit of a changer in these fights.
What I really want to bring up though, Dragons in 60 seconds obviously still for Team Geo, Baron's up in 30. And if they keep on staring at each other, Mexican standoff style, both of these objectives are going to be up at the same time. And it really makes you wonder who's going to go for what gambit.
Flakked's got himself some good items, good cash onto Ibo.
Oh!
The rocket.
Oh! He doesn't need it. Jezu with the rocket. In comes Ragner, trying to get the damage off onto Flakked, unable to make it stick. Scatter goes wide. Toucouille, he does not want to be done yet.
No, he doesn't at all. Toucouille gets the massive chunk. Bite out of Ibo. Jezu's rocket, it aims true. bluerzor. Seeing a Baron still this series already. He's got to make a repeat. That stun onto Flakked.
No ultimate to follow up. He's going to throw down the Moonlight Vigil. Lyncas jumps in. Kamilius trying to get the damage off, but Marlon's just eating everything for his AD.
Jezu.
Zwyroo coming in on the flank, locking them down with the Everfrost. Orb goes through, but the shielding is big. Flakked has used the stat watch. He doesn't have flash. He has a lantern though, so he's going to be able to just about limp out from this one.
How is no one dead?
This fight is so close, so clutch. But nobody has died. Ibo's back up.
Okay, let's just regroup for a second. Ibo can teleport back out on the map. Will not have Mega just yet, but that's another person flying in. On the side of Geo, Toucouille can teleport in if he so wished, but he'd have to reset first.
Flakked started up the Baron.
No, it's a bait, surely. Lost half his health. He's got Red Gun to heal back up, but surely it's just a back away. There's no way you want this.
Oh, Scatter. Good dodge on the hook.
Ragner's on the flank though, and he's got art. He can reset his mana bar with it.
Rocket does get hit. They get the Everfrost off onto Ragner. They got the Lantern as well to get away. Make sure that they can't get the pressure up. Ibo's about to Gnar out. Ibo is about to Gnar out. They are clustered. They are grouped. This could be the moment. The Gnar hits onto 3, but Toucouille's already been able to pick a kill up onto the jungler. 2 low health bars, but Flakked, he still has a full health. Gets a whole bunch of damage off, but the answer out has come forward. Scatter lands onto Flakked once again. Lantern not available. His health bar is bleeding out on Flakked. Marlon is just playing Lantern duty for Flakked right now.
Team Geo just don't want to advance forward because they're so scared of Flakked. They're so scared of diving into Zwyroo. But it's messy on both fronts, on the top side and also right where the Tri-Brush was as well.
And honestly, I think Flakked, what he was doing at that Baron was trying to cycle through to his next set of weapons, costing him way too much HP though, maybe a bit of a misjudgment at that point, but in these tense late game scenarios, you're trying to look for any creativity and inspiration that would see you across the finish line. What the heck? What are we replaying? Where does this start? Okay, we're going back up to this point. Way after what happened in, whatever the heck happened in that mid lane.
Yeah.
Again, Flakked, he's already been hit in the Baron. He's trying to get over to new weapons.
Yeah, and I also want to say, I think crucially when Ragnar used the spells there, couldn't drag over the wall because his ult was out of cooldown, or didn't have any mana. Ibo's ult is huge, but you can see it's a bit too split from Geo, in part because of Ibo's ultimate keeping so many members in place, and it means you're kind of just walking into the meat grinder of Flakked. Baron, I think, in the picture-in-picture did go over to Team Geo. Heretics, I love this. They're trying to find an off... They got the dragon in the picture-in-picture as well. They're trying to find an off-tempo pick, but no one on Geo is going to take the bait. No one's walking into the push. Lyncas, don't be the one. Don't be the one. They're going to see Toucouille on the bottom wave, but they're going to recall a little bit too soon.
No one wants to make that play which loses you this game.
True.
No one wants to make that play which would see this through to a game 5 when it could have been for the Spanish last hope as well. Of course, last hope for both these regions. We'll keep mentioning that because it matters so much to these players and to their fans. And I'm glad that we have ourselves finally in this series a game which seems to be neck and neck. Gold lead just about there. Dragon's starting to get traded as well. It is about who is better on the keyboards, who's better in the team fights in the late game, who can outplay each other.
It feels slightly A-rammy for the last couple of moments.
I'm down.
It just feels like everyone just wants to run down mid. You can see Ibo in the top side and Toucouille on that bottom side. Toucouille should be able to pick this tower up. Just an injection of cash already into a Syndra who is 3 items deep and will be building towards what I assume is going to be that death cap. Ibo can't quite finish up the tier 2, so the gold trade actually does not really go in favor of Los Heretics as right now, Team Go do have a gold lead in this game. It's 2k over the mid laners, so it's a very, very big lead on this Syndra.
See the Lantern being used to just kind of escort Flakked around the map. See if that can be used to maybe get him to another jungle camp, another minion wave at some point as well, because trying to get through to a Bloodthirst, it could be incredibly game-defining for Flakked as well. If he manages to survive with that overshield, stop himself getting to the point where Toucouille can execute below that 15% HP on the ultimate. Of course, Toucouille will have all of those upgrades on the passive at this point now. Has half a death cap from the passive and about to build up a full one inventory. If they ever get on top of Flakked, that Aphelios is lights out.
Champion just deals so much damage as well, even before death cap. So we'll see where Toucouille can find his mark. Zwyroo, Flakked, both very, very vulnerable. Zwyroo sat on this control ward, but I think he's going to walk into Kamilius, give him a full combo, and then walk off. Ghost popped, but Lantern's there, so nothing should really happen. And I just feel like for both of these teams now, Baron probably going to time out before another major thing can be gained. Maybe they can siege up on this tier 2 and actually get it, but I think the wave clear generally from Heretics and just the tower being full HP should about be enough.
Yeah, should be able to hold this one. Flakked able to finish that one up. Like you said, it's really about that Bloodthirster. That at that point makes Flakked very tanky and very hard to deal with. So tension's going to kind of be on his build, and I feel for Heretics they just want to cool the Jets a little bit in this game.
Yeah, and I think they are, again, they're slowing things down a little bit and looking for those unexpected angles. You called out, I mean, we talked about Flakked's itemization. You called out the difference in itemization between AD carries a little earlier. No Bloodthirster to be seen on Jezu. It's all about the damage, about the attack speed right now. I'm not exactly sure what he's going to be doing with that last seal. Maybe it's a rapid fire cannon to try and get himself that first auto attack on target. He, again, especially all those items. One auto attack from a late game Jinx. It's a heck of a lot of work.
Well, it is a farming game right now. There's the Death Cap finished up onto Zwyroo. He's finished that one up for himself. Stopwatch still in his inventory. I think the key thing is Flakked used his stopwatch in a previous fight. So without that, he's going to be slightly more exposed. Does still have the Ghost, does still have the Flash available to him, so he has the tools to work with. I think it is very much just going to be a waiting game for the next minute until that Dragon spawns up.
Yeah, should be. Should be for sure. I think Geo, they know if they get this soul, that realistically for Heretics, teamfights just get really, really difficult, and I don't really think that Heretics want to give it up either, so this should just be a straight up 5v5.
I am so ready for an all-out fist fight. Let's have a look at these completed items. We have a Death Cap, we have the Rapid Fire Cannon. No, it's not the Hurricane, but that first auto attack does a hell of a lot of work. Death Cap on the other side as well. We are ready to swing punches, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else. Let's see who lands the knockout blow.
Bloodthirster 2.
Yep.
Bloodthirster for Flakked 2 as well, which is a really, really big pickup here. Level 16 has been hit on Zwyroo as well, so he's matching Toucouille on at least ult levels at that point. He's level 17 on the Syndra right now. 16 stacks on that Magi is looking very, very scary. This Syndra kind of came out later in the series for this game 4 here, but he is making it work for himself. Really, really impressive stuff, while Zwyroo with the teleport is able to actually pick up a tower in the top side and is keeping the pressure, keeping a push up. Ivo about to Gnar out.
Okay, Ivo's unseen. Is Zwyroo going to TP in?
I think he's going to stay up there. The issue is, though, Zwyroo's out of mana, so, like, either way but lose, he's committed to this side lane play. Geo should get this dragon, unless bluerzor steals it. No, they're making the committed call to actually give this one up, so this is a very interesting set of decisions being made by Team Heretics. The inhibitor should die. Baron's up in 30 seconds, so Heretics, to me, this just says, okay, we're down to give over the soul. We feel like Zwyroo could never make it to the fight in time. I don't like the call either. I can see you shaking your head, Nymera, but maybe they can make something of the Baron fight if they can take control of the area, but to me, there's just not really enough vision control necessarily set up already.
Yeah, all I'll say is now Heretics have to prove us wrong if we don't like this or not, because if you're going to give up that soul to split the map, try and they're going for it anyway!
Oh, misses! Oh, that's huge! Lyncas able to clone out the safety. Scatter doesn't come in from Ragner. He's jumped onto that side lane.
Oh, no.
Flakked's got the survivability thanks to that Bloodthirster. He doesn't even get tickled from that one. Marlon flashes over the wall to get away. Lyncas still waiting for an opportunity to go in for the Cyclone, but the big thing is Zwyroo doesn't have that much mana. Has a blue bust, he will be getting some mana back. Scatter lands onto Marlon. Zwyroo still just trying to regain as much mana as possible. Can TP in if he needs to, but he knows if he tries to go for the reset, that could be the difference maker here.
Could.
Charm.
Oh,
Everfrost.
Yeah, Everfrost as well. A lot of damage.
Oh my god! Flash forward! Great stopwatch coming in from Zwyroo. He has a flash to get over the wall. He's going to get followed up by Lyncas though. They're going to throw everything down. Flakked trying to get some damage off onto Lyncas, but Lyncas goes golden for the moment. Tries to jump over the wall, fails the flash.
Jezu!
Straight back in. Jezu remains untouched at the moment. Ivo coming in with the game-winning lockdown with the R. Ragner is not going to get himself caught out, but a scatter from Toucouille is enough to save the day for Team Go. Every fight is a battle of inches.
It feels like that fight in any other situation would have been series ending. That would have been LFL out of the tournament. As it stands, it's a bloody lip, but they are limping back to base. Jezu will have a chance to respawn and come back out onto the map. Heretics, they gave up that soul not just 2 minutes ago. They come away with just about a winning play after taking that Baron.
Oh, I mean, key thing here is the scat of the week. The stun doesn't quite allow Zwyroo to get one shot, but still, Lyncas is there with a follow-up. But it's all about this chase into the choke from both sides here. from Team Geo, and Flakked having Infernum, Ivo hitting Mega at this timer, the hook connecting onto Jezu to kind of just briefly bait them into a sense of security after the cleanse to move forward. The dominoes just all fall in place, and Heretics able to find almost every single man. If they kill everyone in this exchange, the game's over. They have a top wave.
I think the big thing as well was just that crit coming in from Flakked. The Ivo R looked like it did so much damage. It was actually just an Infernum crit from Flakked. It just absolutely melted their health bars. But what can they do with the Baron? They've already taken that top lane inhibitors. They already have a point pushing for them on the map.
Well, what I'm looking for next is actually Flakked. How's that Graviton? The last kind of dregs that ammunition. One route there could be game ending. We said game ending a couple of times, though, because it has been really, really close. You really can't blame it, because it feels like these teams trying to eke out as much as they can from this. Ahri's teleporting back in. Lyncas will see that.
He will.
Get away.
It's definitely just a very tense Baron push. Neither team really wants to overcommit, overpush, try and save one lane and then lose another. Because at this point in the game, if you're losing multiple inhibitor towers, one fight could be enough. Ivo's in a little bit of danger, is able to just about clear away. They go for the hook onto Ragner, can't quite connect it. Scatter goes wide as well. Oh my word, that damage coming in from the Syndra onto bluerzor there.
Yeah, that could have been onto Flakked. And Flakked is playing with his absolute life flashing behind before his eyes. He has full items now. We talked about his last item being completed, being the Bloodthirster a couple of minutes ago. Now it's going to be the Hurricane on top of that.
Oh my word. That's the Calibrum range coming in from Flakked, able to crack open that tower off the back of that. Can they commit for the inhibitor? They've got all these minions now on the top side, so the pressure has suddenly started to amount a little bit too much for T and Go. Flakked's going to clear through this wave as well to keep that pressure up on the bottom side. Does get slowed by the Hextech Soul, but the Lantern's enough to save Mount. Zwyroo also getting a bit of danger. This is the power of the Hextech Soul, though. Every little hit like this does build up, does cause even more pressure and pain for them, where they have to use Lanterns, use Ahri ultimates to disengage away. Flakked, they got to get rid of that Bloodthirster shield.
They do. Chain slow. It's even also just helping in the wave clear department, as little as it may be. Inches can be turned into miles. Knockback.
Ivo, he doesn't have the ultimate available to him, but all inhibitors are down. Heretics, they can back off. They got a minute till the Elder.
This is actually, though, the window where potentially Team Geo can just try and make their way back into the bottom side jungle, reclaim some vision, maybe even set up a vision line in the river as Heretics go back to base and reset. They're also being quite lackadaisical about returning back to base too. Flakked's farming maybe for what, I'm actually not too sure. So this is maybe a window if Team Geo feel confident enough to step out. For now, though, both teams still here on the map.
Well, Flakked does have a Thresh. Maybe he feels bold enough to sell boots, use the Lantern for his mobility instead. Not going to buy anything on that recall besides just, I believe, it will be that Elixir of Wrath.
Has to be.
The red pop coming out. So 40 seconds until life and death in this game 4. Heretics win the fight. They get the Elder. The LFL leave in the quarterfinals for only the second time in the history of this competition. Geo win, and they have one last crack at this series in a game 5.
Interesting thing, Jezu finished up his final item, involving that meaning he had to sell his stopwatch, so he won't have a stopwatch for this Elder. There is a stopwatch on Toucouille, there is a stopwatch on Ragner. They're jumping forward, looking for Jezu. He has the cleanse, uses it immediately. Flakked, untouched, steps up.
Oh,
Flakked is chunked, he's down. Jezu finds the kill. The carry is dead for Los Heretics, and they have no opportunities, no way to hold here, as Zwyroo is trying to get away, but the Hextech Soul slows, just building up way too much. They're teleporting in, they're chasing,
killing the wave.
He's just keeping the wave, and he's going to be on a stopwatch by time. He will go down to Jezu, who's on a rampage, and that bought a little bit of time. 30 seconds until Flakked's up.
Have Heretics just thrown the game? That's the big question now. How much can Team Geo actually get out of this? So much of the wave was killed off by Zwyroo. Honestly, it's heroics. They'll push into the inhibitor. The Elder's still on the map. They're looking for the end. I think they want the end. They don't even want to risk. Maybe, inhibitor. I think it's inhibitor to Elder. Surely you don't go all the way.
20 seconds. They've got the damage with the Jinx. It's a 6-item Jinx.
Yeah, they can do it.
bluerzor's going to do his best to try and hold. Clears through the wave.
Oh, he didn't get it.
Stop watching.
He didn't get it.
The cannon's down.
It's dead.
That's big. Marlon's here. Flakked's up in 6 seconds.
They can't end.
They have to go Elder.
Oh, they can't end. Oh my god. Okay, they're going to take the ball back. They'll go get the Elder. And still, that's going to be huge because the Baron spawns in 60 seconds time. As Heretics, you cannot contest that. Surely, so that's going to be both the Uber buffs on Team Geo potentially for a chance to take this to Game 5.
The only way I can describe this game is goddamn Shakespearean. We're in like Act 4 or something at this point. I don't know whether it is a tragedy. I don't know whether it's a heroic tale. Guess it depends on which side of the LFL LVP boundary you're on, but it starts, at least for this chapter, in the mid lane. Ragner forces out the flash.
Why did he go front line? Why did he go front line?
It's just such a frustrating moment almost. You understand, he feels so powerful with this much damage on his hands, but he can't afford to just give Team Geo a freebie like that, and Lyncas just finds his mark easily.
It's only fitting, though, that it could potentially be going to a Game 5. Now, I'm not going to jinx it, not going to say it is or it isn't, but it would only be fitting if it were to do so with well into the depths of this Game 4. Heretics, they had a history of being LFL killers from last summer, from winning the whole damn tournament last summer. Looking to repeat it again. This time Flakked has the Guardian Angel. Both AD carries have that. You know what?
Yeah.
Somebody who also hasn't died is Toucouille. He's got 20 stacks in that Magi's now. He's been happily sat on that stopwatch. They're pushing in towards the Nexus.
Yeah, they just want to end. They don't want to do any Baron nonsense. They know they can. Flakked has to come up big here, but no summoner spells is going to be so difficult.
It's a hell of a chunk onto Zwyroo. They've already lost one tower.
Bluerzor's dead.
He's taking a lot of damage. They do get the damage onto bluerzor, able to finish him up. Flakked going a little bit low, wants to run back and heal up as much as possible. A one-member down here for Heretics. A 4 versus 5. They land the hook. Lyncas jumps in. They're going to get the damage off onto the key target. He has a GA, but he's going to revive in the middle of absolutely everybody, and he is down. We are going to game number 5. Team Go, fight back.
It is an angle for revenge for the LFL team. They are on the precipice of bringing us to a point of getting themselves a series victory over the team which ended the French dynasty last summer. It took them a while, it took some dramatics, but we're going the distance.
Can't believe it. This game was just so back and
Can't
forth.
you? Can't
so
you?
good.
You can't make up the storyline though, can you, at the end of the day? 5 games between France and Spain. Either one goes to semis. Loser, out. And I mean, for, you know, the story, everything. At the end of the day, you guys are right. You have a little point in battle as we come back to us. Hello.
Hello.
And, you know, it's about France finally looking like potentially not the most dominant region ever again. 2 tournaments, you know, back-to-back where, you know, expectations failed in the finals, okay. But for Heretics to then carry on the banner into semis, again, claiming another French scalp would be massive.
This is what I was asking for as well. When we walked off stage after that last one, I was like, man, I want like a really good game in this series, because it felt like it was very dominant. The game 1, very Team Go. So Geos on game 2 and 3, very Lost Heretics. They just had control. This was a back and forth banger. If game 5's like anything like that, we are in for such a good finale. We're going to pass it over to the analyst desk though to break down that absolute banger of a game.
Thank you, guys. So the reason I thought I'd bring up this replay is because in a game where there's 6 dragon taken, you know, you kind of forget what happens early and why it's so important. So in this game, we had bluerzor playing Sejuani into Wukong. Now, what you need to know is that Wukong is a champion where if you draft it, you have to draft very heavy team fight, but also you have to draft to make sure that you secure his early clears. Now, what bluerzor on Wukong, Sejuani is going to do is try to deny these clears by invading 3 camp into bot side. This is very, very standard, and you try to shut him down. Don't let him get the second buff clear. Unfortunately, that doesn't work, and the reason that does not work is because of the priorities in the mid lane and the bot lane. This is a very important concept where if you have adjacent priorities in 2 lanes, you can't invade that side if the enemy has that, right? So you could see that mid lane and bot lane are actually pushing in with the Jinx and the Tahm Kench and the Syndra versus the Ahri. Now, Sejuani, bluerzor here, wants to invade, but she realizes, wait, I can't. My mid lane and my bot lane are getting invaded, so I cannot shut down this Wukong from full clearing right here. So what she decides to do instead is, you know what, I've got to do something, right? Otherwise I get outscaled, because Wukong is in fact incredible into Sejuani. He's the best scaling jungler in the current meta, and he becomes a very good ult blocker in teamfights later on. He presses clone, tanks the ulti, and then very unfortunate here, Ragner actually survives, outplays, keeps walking in a straight line so Sejuani cannot auto to get the last proc, and bluerzor actually dies. At this point, you're kind of screwed, right? You cannot play as well. You get outscaled, and Go Lyncas just shows us what OP Wukong can do.
of applause for that, because I know that that is your first ever Telestrator segment and you absolutely killed it, okay?
There's a high chance this is the best first-time Telestrator ever in the studio.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Huge props, and it was a great insight on the early game as well, because it shows you a lot how Sejuani can be a ganker in the early game, but if that goes south and Wukong starts snowballing, it becomes a problem. I think we saw it through the entire team fights here, how strong that Syndra-Wukong duo was. I feel like Lyncas and Toucouille just meshed up so well in this particular game, and that mid-jungle duo, I think, kept the game alive for Geo.
Yeah, and that mid-jungle duo, we've been highlighting it time and time again for Geo. It didn't really work out in the last two previous games, but this time around, they found that click. They made sure that it worked out in their advantage, and Flakked just had no business getting to their backline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think here the story of this team fight is you see Ahri missing a Tahm, you press engage, no questions asked. bluerzor very unlucky there, misses the ultimate as well. So once all these big cooldowns that CCU keep you in place from the side of Heretics are out of the picture, you just engage. Again here, I have to say, I said I've got a big soft spot for Aibo, but it hasn't necessarily been an Aibo series, let's be honest. He's been caught out a lot throughout the series, in this game as well, as we saw in this replay. And when you lose your front line with the Gnar, when you don't have that threat for the Mega Gnar into the backline, it becomes much easier, as we saw in this replay as well, for Geo to overextend in these fights and play them longer, where Toucouille gets a chance to go back to base, TP back, and get these picks.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? This is why Gnar prior all over the world has kind of fallen off a tiny bit as a blind pick, because he's incredibly, it's incredibly difficult to pilot mini Gnar into the current mid jungle. Stuff like Ahri, which instant snap engages. You have a Syndra stun that just one-shots mini Gnar, right? And that's why K'Sante blind prior has risen a tiny little bit. These compositions are really interesting, right? Because Jinx here is picked in tandem with a Wukong Syndra who one-shots one target, which in turn secures Jinx passive and lets you run down the entire enemy team. I think this was an incredible draft by Go.
Yeah, but also when we're looking at the team fight specifically, I think that was one of the longest team fights I have seen in a very long time. It felt like neither one of these teams wanted to make the mistake and have it be the game-ending decision.
I just feel like at this point, in this particular game, the draft did not matter. I think it was both teams team fighting the entire time. It started from the Rift Herald, and it happened for every single objective. If we want to take it as it is, I think both teams are playing incredibly well. This was a match that got determined by who can press their buttons better, and if somebody's even a millisecond slow, then their team will end up losing the fight. And I'm only saying this, and there's no analysis on that, because both teams are playing so freaking well that I don't want to stick on the fact that, oh, Aibo made one mistake and overextended, oh, Ahri missed a charm, therefore they got engaged. I feel like it was a case of both teams putting their hearts down on the plate, trying their hardest. Look at the AD carry damages here, 50.6, 44k. I think it's a case of this is LFL versus LVP.
Yeah. And
this is the reigning champions versus the last hope of the region that has dominated this stage since 2019 summer. This is a huge deal. It's been 4 years since we haven't had an LFL team going to semi-finals, and GO are coming as a second seed. First seed has already been eliminated. It's a huge deal for both.
Yeah, it is. And we highlighted the stakes that were on this game specifically before it even started. And the fact that this is being pushed to that 5th game series Aragon, it's a further emphasis on how both of these teams have just their fan bases, their local and regional prides on their shoulders. And it's a weight that they need to carry going into that final game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going into this final game, like you mentioned, what I really like about series is that you get your own little meta developing inside of series, right? You start to notice, okay, what's working in this series, what isn't? And I think what's working in the series currently is just almost no matter what happens early game, you get that mid-game team fights, those mid-game team fights that are inevitably going to happen, they last forever, right? And I think what these two teams should be going for, if they're identifying what is working in this series, is the best mid-game team fights. I really like the Aphelios. Like, even though they lost Heretics, they picked Aphelios here versus a very engage-heavy short-range team, and Aphelios loves that, which meant that they almost came back. I think they should definitely be looking at mid-game team fight scaling, and maybe because of that, they deny the Wukong.
I think it's also a question of the mental space that both of these teams are in at the moment, because this is it. This is your final shot to be able to go into those semifinals. It's a best of 5. It's now down to only one game. and you're out if you miss it. 2 legacies are completely on the line here.
This is so important for so many players. Again, bluerzor has been in this team that has made the transition to the LEC. Haven't picked him twice now. He wins EMEA Masters, can't make LEC. He wants to win it again just to get the shot. Lyncas, all eyes on him from LEC teams, didn't quite make it through. Ragner, probably one of the best, if not the best top laner we've had over EMEA Masters in the last year. Also looked at from LEC team, yet not picked up. And now that I mentioned Ragnar, I just want to give a huge shout out, because even if I'm an eyeball fangirl, Ragnar has been one of the most stable top laners we've had over at EMEA Masters for almost 2 years now. The guy has played AP carries in this series with the Kennen, he's played tanks with the Cassante and the Malphite, and he's also played bruises with the Olaf. And let me tell you what, he's won his lane every single damn time. Even the games where his team lost, he was ahead.
Yeah, and I've got to say, from personal experience, Ragnar is a beast. He's an absolute monster laner. Last year when I was laning against him in solo
Tell me what
queue,
happened to you a few days ago, you said, when you faced him.
it was a while ago, but at the time, Ragnar was rank 8 challenger. And I was just, trying to squeeze my way up there. And he was the gatekeeper for me. I didn't quite reach challenger. I was 1 game off. I played against him. He played Kennen into me, and I couldn't play the game. I solo lost the game. I can personally vouch for his level and ability, especially mechanically.
And I think having that experience yourself as well, being in some of these situations, I want to kind of draw up on the state that some of these players could be in right now. Because it's a lot of pressure. It's 1 game. It's genuinely do or die here. There is no lower bracket. So coming into this from a player perspective, what would the current situation most likely look like?
Of course, everyone's jitters. You don't know if someone's, stressing out completely. I stress in best of 5s. Maybe I'm weaker mental in these players. I will say that Lyncas has been in this position before. Okay, he got to quarters last year in the summer. So I would imagine he's a bit used to it and maybe thrives in this kind of best of 5 because he knows he's already gotten here, and maybe he wants to go further.
I also want to draw a little bit of a picture for the coaches as well, right? We saw Sheepy yesterday after that 5-game series. He just spilled himself on the floor.
It was a mood.
He's like, finally, it's over, because 1 wrong pick, 1 champion that you hadn't thought of that has not been banned, 1 counter pick, the Jinx possibly going to the opposite team could be game breaking. And with 2 teams that love to team fight, you don't build the perfect team fight, it can break apart the series.
Yeah, Team Go, they bring us to Silver Scrapes. LVP or LFL, Heretics or Team Geo, who will take home this series and make it to the EMEA Masters semi-finals? We'll find out after a short break.
Woo!